Hi, Edward.
Hey Jill, how's it going? That was a very nice introduction.
I know we were talking last weekend at lunch, trying to figure out when and where we first met, and I was convinced it was at Bungalow 8, late night. But
No, that's not untrue, but the first place we actually met was on set. It was for a specific part of the magazine at the time called Style Ethics. It was when Vogue was starting to focus on like sustainable fashion, ethical fashion, all of that stuff. Tani Goodman was obviously the sittings editor because sustainability is a passion for her, as it should be for all of us. Anyway, the model was Blake Lively. It was at the Surrey Hotel, like just as it was opening. So it was on 76th Street between 5th and Madison, like super luxury, really cool. We hadn't had something like that as like a place in New York in like a really long time. So it was like nice. Gossip Girl was like kind of just starting. So it was interesting to see who was plucked from the cast for this moment. So fast forward, I'm like jewelry intern, accessories intern at the time. And I'm very methodical, as Jill knows, and some of you might know. And she comes in and is like, everybody, I was like, get a coffee for Miss Demling and blah blah blah. And she was just like, you were so nice to me. And I just remember you had like it was an offhand comment about something where it was like Blake Lively likes X. And so I made sure that we had, and it was red velvet cupcakes. I made sure we had those just before she arrived on set. It's just
that
those
is
little
so
things.
funny. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like those little things because that's what sets everybody apart. It's just like that, like drive and focus.
Well, it's funny because I mean, I'm old, so I barely remember that, but I and especially don't remember you being in the jewelry department. Not that I can't see it, but that's funny because I never know how to describe what you do or what your job is because it's never just one thing. I mean, to me it is. To me, you're my stylist. I mean, I don't go to India without having you pack me. I don't buy a trench unless you approve it. So,
You've
you
got style in spades. You are very kind.
I take tons of pictures, them
The
to
pictures are
you.
good. You know your angles, which is fantastic.
For the Gen Z listeners, I think it's important to learn how someone got to where they are, especially for those people who are pursuing a career in fashion or journalism. So I would love to know how you got started. What was little Edward like? For some reason, I don't know why I picture you as the female version of Cher Horowitz from Clueless. Always ahead of the trend, impeccably dressed. Edward is here. The hallway's my catwalk. I don't know why. That's what I picture.
You're not far off. Little Edward, I think like this is insane. I actually have photos. So, hold on. This is so crazy. Um, he was definitely, this is in Italy with my family.
Yep, the shades, the
Exactly. Like
shades.
the sunglasses are on, whitewater rafting, like you've got the hat and the like vest, so it's got to be
Just in
sweet.
case the paparazzi are there, you have to be ready.
Always. I had a Prada backpack, so that tracks in terms of like share. Um, It was really interesting. I grew up in like suburban New Jersey, and so what was predominantly conventional, like Polo or Abercrombie and Fitch, mostly J. Crew. I wore that stuff, but I wore it in like such different ways because I would wear like I don't know Ralph Lauren collection, like the runway T-shirts, and I would definitely break. Our school had a dress code. Look, if you are not showing up ugly, you should be able to wear whatever you want, in my opinion.
Right.
And so that's what little Edward did.
No,
Won best
you're
dress senior year of high school.
Yeah, I mean, you're always so great at high low. You don't have much low, but the way you do incorporate it, because that's one thing I would always ask you when our offices were close to each other. I wanted a trench like you had or a duster like you had. And when you tell me, oh, this is Zara or this is H&M or whatnot, it was great because you had a way of making exactly like you said you did as a child, you could wear it differently, mix it up, and it suddenly looked like either Victoria Beckham or Burberry, or it's a talent.
I appreciate that, but it's kind of what you said before. Style is style. And so like yeah, my job titles have always been fairly nebulous in the sense that it's like vague, it's overarching because to your point, style's intrinsic. Again, I think the cool part about working so closely with you, but then like also the like fashion critics at the same time, was the fact that it was like you were showing at the time you were working on mass pop culture. You were bringing those figures into our universe. The fashion critics were doing that in regards to what's on the runway. Merge those together, and that's how you talk to everybody. And again, that's how I've always approached dress. And to be honest, I feel very privileged that I had like supportive parents who allowed me to express myself, who I felt like I was at that time through ready to wear, through fashion.
Well, so that's interesting because I was going to ask, knowing that your mother, who recently passed, was this chic woman. I mean, you've blessed me with some chic hand-me-downs that I treasure. So when you said they were supportive of you being who you are, I assume they were supportive of you going into the career you
Hmm.
did.
Very much so. I stumbled into editorial. Uh,
Yeah, what did you study in high school or college? Were you reading fashion magazines? Were you in?
Totally. So I grew up, this is gonna sound weird. I did grow up with Vogue, but not really. We were a W household back in the old day when it was like giant, oversized format.
Yes.
You had the gossip column in the back, Susie and all that stuff. And it was so much fun because you had like those like hyper color shoots with like Stephen Klein or David LaChapelle or Mario Testino. And it was like the Beckhams together pre, kids sometimes and stuff like that. And it was just like the hottest thing in the world. So for me, that was my first entry into like fashion editorial was growing up with my mom's W's. We obviously like would go Short Hills Mall, shout out there. That was my fashion baptism. So that's where we would go like shopping and stuff like that. The moment where it clicked that fashion can be a career was or as a kid where I knew I kind of wanted to do something in this space was 1997 Oscars. Nicole Kidman wore this John Galliano for Dior Couture, Shang Tsung style chartreuse dress, and literally that was where it was like, this is Hollywood. This is a movie star. This is somebody who can wear fashion but knows how to use fashion in an intelligent way that is going to communicate to everyone. And then after that, you saw a lot more people start
Hmm.
focusing on wardrobe a lot more, which was cool.
So when you were graduating high school, what did you think you were going to be? What did you go into college studying?
When I was in high school, I was one of the editors of our yearbook. I had a column in the newspaper. I did not get an editor role at the newspaper because they did not think I was good enough. But I did a column and it was way
You
better.
showed them.
Well, the two people who were co-editors weren't even very good. I felt like anyway. So during my senior year of high school, I was interning for a society magazine based here in New York. It's called Quest. And so that was really cool because, and that's probably where we met during the bungalow era, but like,
Right.
you got to speak to the most highest subsect of an audience, right? It's society, it's New York society. And so to be introduced to that, who have access to everything, that was really cool. So from there, and again, my grandparents lived in the city, so I was able to stay with them for free. My parents gave me like a stipend. I feel very fortunate for that. Because they did that though, that showed me, okay, I can go into editorial. I can turn this into a career. This might not be my like end game, like working at this outlet, but like it's the start to what I'm going to do next.
And how did you get that job at Quest?
Oh, the
What?
magazine was delivered to my grandmother's building. So it was it's a magazine that's given out in like the Zheji buildings here in the city, or in Palm Beach or in the Hamptons and stuff like that. So I remember she used to give them to me. It was Quest, Avenue, Gotham, and probably a few others.
Hmm.
Senior year high school, so I'm still like way underage. I wrote to Condé Nast because I at that time read GQ, if you can believe it, and Cargo and all those kinds of things, which is insane. Um, I did not, I actually shockingly did not apply to Vogue as an intern. W, which I think was still on Sixth Avenue or something.
Hmm.
And so they had said no. All of Condé Nast basically said, no, you're too young. We only accept college students, yada, yada, yada. And because I was just before freshman year, they said no. Quest immediately, like the editor in chief, David Patrick Columbia, wrote back. I interviewed, and I remember I was wearing a Ralph Lauren pink pony tote, which I thought was the coolest thing at the time. It still is. I love that campaign, but like literally, I thought I was like the biggest badass. Now I'm like, ugh, whatever. Um,
So you wrote him asking to be an intern the summer after high school before college, and you got the gig.
I got the gig. They took as much free labor as they could. They had me doing stuff for the fashion department. It had started off as a luxury real estate magazine. So that was the basis of a lot of our content. So I was working with like luxury developers or interior designers who were doing luxury developments. So it was really interesting, but at the same time they were like, you go out, right? So like you need to start talking about
Right.
like where you're going out, like who you're seeing, all that kind of stuff. And that was really fun. And to your point, I grew up in the suburbs of New Jersey. Up until that point, I had come into the city for like family things or to like go to the symphony, the opera, whatever, like what we did as kids growing up. But like the clubbing aspect, the like going out aspect was a lot of fun. Plus I
Of
again,
course.
I was like younger and it was like really cool. So
And then you went off to college, and did you
when
study journalism? Did you
no,
continue? Okay.
I went to St. Andrews in Scotland. I knew. And this is what I will say to any like Gen Alpha or like Gen Z younger that aren't in school or college yet. If you know you're going to come back to New York, take college as an opportunity to like travel and to go out. I was the only person in my school's history to like go to St. Andrews at that point, and then afterwards you would always have like one or two subsequently do it. I think it was a fantastic choice. I studied international relations and art history. International relations, and we'll get to this later, I'm
Hmm.
sure, hugely important in our industry, like diplomacy 101. Like if you don't
Right.
know how to talk to many different bodies at the same time in a clear and direct manner, you should be finished in this industry. Um, but yeah, it was good. It was a really cool experience. I only did it for 2 years and then I transferred back to Parsons in the New School. I think I knew what I wanted to do. And so
Hmm.
I really wanted to just be like, let's get going, right?
Exactly.
Because life's too short.
And then from Parsons, what was your plan? Did
Mm.
you have the magazine list again? You knew
Oh,
who you had
of course.
reached out to. So,
So when I moved back from Scotland to New York, I was like, I'm getting an apartment. I'm going to do this. Um, it was on the contingency with my parents that I was able to work full time for Quest. Their market editor at the time had left. She wanted to have a family, so she did. And they were like, he's young, he's cheap, he's got taste. So they gave me a job for literally next to nothing. And I'm not even kidding you. I think when I got the contract, I went out and I like bought something so ludicrous because like at that time I had barely a salary, but I was like, we're gonna do it. This is gonna mark this moment. Anyway, um, I knew towards graduation of college, I was working full time at the magazine and going to class full time.
oh, right.
I split it up so that I would like because I was also covering evening stuff for the magazine, I would sometimes go to class in like a suit or like change into a tuxedo. It was kind of insane, but like hilarious at the same time. Like Bond-esque, but like not as chic. Anyway, as I knew I was about to graduate, I saw that there had been a posting for a accessories, specifically fine jewelry intern at Vogue. And at that time, Vogue had specific editors for specific markets, like hats, belts, gloves. That was
Right.
somebody. Bags,
Lingerie. Yep.
lingerie, bags, et cetera, et cetera. So fine jewelry, given the value, given the sensitivity of it, also given like the fact that a lot are advertisers, it's a very sensitive market, and you need to be somebody who's like very detail oriented, but understands what sets something apart from the rest. Coming from Quest, where again, we were working with Graf, Harry Winston, Van Cleef, like I had experience with this. So I was really excited. Um, the scary part was I was graduating college and I was leaving a job where I had been there for a few years.
How did you juggle the job while you're still in college?
Um, I really had very little personal life at that time, to be totally transparent. Like I would go out, I would party and whatever, but it would be part for work. Like
Right.
I have to like report and cover and whatever, partially to like get the magazine out there to like a younger demographic. Um, but I was pretty much a monk. I would like go to class, go to work, and then go out and then just repeat that cycle. And that was really it.
And they were
Um,
fine with you not being in the office full time because you obviously had
Correct. So
school.
I would be in class during the day, like for an hour at a time. I would go to class at night. I would go to like some classes in the morning. It was like Tetris trying to figure it out. But again, remember my role as market editor. So I was supposed to be out and about at
Right.
like Herrera or De La Renta. Back when they were all on like 7th Avenue and a block away, you could knock them all out in like 25 minutes.
Right.
Um, but yeah, it's so interesting you asked that because I look back and I was like, damn, I could do so much. I don't know if I could do it now. I like to think I could, but probably
No, but
require a lot of
that's
coffee.
very impressive. And I can tell that about you. The fact that you went for it. You literally went for it. You said you knew what you wanted to do. Let's get started now. And you made it happen. And that's hard for some kids. I mean, it was hard for me to know what I wanted to do, and I would have loved to have known, um, that to just have clarity on my future. I think that's what a lot of people get anxious about. And it's great to have had a clear idea. This is where I will be, and let's go.
Yes, it was awesome having that list. It was like Vogue, the New York Times, 60 Minutes. I know that sounds random, but 60 Minutes, again, if you can take a legacy institution and make it appealing to a broad audience, you've done your job. Um, there is something, yes, to be said for that focus, that drive. I would not be here being interviewed by you if it wasn't for that. That being said, there is something to be said for letting things happen in their own time. I
Right.
think, I forced myself to like get to that Vogue role the first time. Probably wasn't the right, like I then moved into like an assistant role and it
Well,
probably
let's talk about that now that you're on it, because I do want to know where it started
oh
at
yeah.
Vogue, because you have had different positions there. It wasn't as linear as with others who come in as an assistant, become an editor, etc. So you jumped around a bit. So what was that first interview? And tell us what happened next, how it all went down, basically.
My first, very, very, very first interview was at 4 Times Square, 12th floor, old school Vogue. It still had the receptionists at that little desk. And it was like so cute because it like looked like an English garden. And it was with Amalia Karamitsis, who was the accessories director at the time, and she was in charge of fine jewelry. So she was making the hire about my internship. I got it, obviously. Fast forward, I've been in like fine jewelry for about like 3 months, and sometimes like the senior editors will give her things to get repaired, and so like Anna's office came and they were like, we have this like really special Riviera style necklace. It needs to be fixed. So I like hand took it to Stephen Russell, which is a fabulous vintage shop.
Mhm.
Whatever, they repaired it, yada yada yada. So because I was like earning the trust of all of the different like senior editors and going on like the style ethics shoot and stuff like that, um, one of the assistants was supposed to be moved to market to work for then Meredith Melling. And so they were like, who can we put in this role? And so they were like, well, what about Edward? And so again, she had never had a boy in her office before. And so I'm the type of person where it's like you don't say no to opportunity. This is somebody who I've always wanted to work for, mind you. 20 whatever year old self is like pinching himself because it's like the reputation, it's going to be demanding, it's going to be difficult, but at the same time, you will not have a better school. And so it started off as like a trial during the holidays. And
Oh my
so
gosh. I remember what the holidays are like. gift buying.
Okay, so what did you have to buy? So
I
this is
did
also
not have to
why
do it. I did not have to.
Jill and I like I immediately loved her upon meeting her because I like, I knew she had been in Anna's office. And so there's like I don't know, I feel like no matter how long you were there will always be this like unwritten like sorority as it were. You've just like
Mhm.
you've been in it. And so anyway,
Right.
you didn't have to.
No, that was the junior assistant, but I would see
I
all the
they
wrapping paper.
Jill clearly was the nice one out of all of the assistants, as you can tell. That was the junior assistant's job.
And I just remember the part that was annoying for me is that the junior assistant would be gone a lot, either buying the gifts or in the conference room wrapping. And to man that office by yourself was nearly impossible. So, I mean, I remember when I first started, I can only imagine what you felt because it's intimidating. And the thing about you is you didn't, okay. The thing about me when I started, I didn't know who she was. I hadn't worked at Vogue at all. So you're coming in probably even more nervous than I was.
I was, I wanted to make sure that I showed her what I was capable of. That, like, I might not have been suited to be an assistant, like, I won't lie. Um, but I wanted to show her I'm going to give you everything. Like, you will always see me do the best that I will ever do. She was good to me. Like, I won't lie. Like, as you said, I didn't have a linear path and we'll get to it later, but like, there's a reason I came back, right? Because
Right.
like, I wasn't mistreated. One of the other assistants was like a demon to me. And like, literally, it was humiliating how she spoke to me in front of like, the other members of staff because at that time Anna's office faced out onto like events and communications.
Right.
So like they could hear the second assistant basically just like chastise me for like not undoing the miho flowers the way she does it. I was like, are the flowers going on her desk in a vase, a Clarice Cliff vase? Yes. So we're good, right? Like she's not going to yell at me over that. Why are you yelling at
So
me over that?
did she have three assistants at that
I was
time?
the third assistant.
Okay, because we only had two. And it's funny when you were talking about taking the necklace to get fixed, because that happened so many times when I was in her office. There was a particular one that would always break.
The
And
amethyst one?
yes. And I don't know which one it was actually. I believe so, but this is a long time ago. We're talking late 90s, so probably 1999. And Leslie Fremar had picked it up off her desk while Anna was at lunch to get it packed up to bring to get fixed, and she dropped it and it broke. And she was in tears. And I said to her, don't, just calm down. Let's think about this. So, this is a necklace that keeps breaking. Here's what we do, we're going to take it up to the jeweler, have them shorten it. And then that's how we could explain why it's broken, why it's shorter, and that this is actually a good thing because it'll make it lighter and it won't keep breaking.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
Anna never knew that it ever had broken. And in fact, that's what the jeweler had wanted to do anyway. But those necklaces, man, always
They're
breaking.
beautiful, but the most delicate things in the
Yes,
universe. Oh my
yes,
God.
yes. So, what did you have to do for her, and how long did you last, and whose choice was it to move on from that position?
Oh, I remember what I wore in my interview. I remember I was there. So it was during the holidays, so it was gift wrapping and everything. Clearly, I had passed the test. So in the new year, they moved my predecessor to accessories or market, and then I bought a new Balenciaga by Nicolas Ghesquière suit in gray. I still have it. I still wear it. I still feel like a boss in it, which is so crazy. Um, she asked me who my favorite writer for the magazine was, and I said Jeffrey Steingarten, which I think you'll appreciate just given my current
Oh,
role. At the time, Jeffrey Steingarten was the food critic at Vogue, and so he would write about like caviar, but somehow it would be very approachable. He would write about like bluefin tuna before it became like a common thing. It was
yeah,
very
he'd
cool.
write about whatever he wanted, and
Yes,
Phyllis Posnick would do incredible still life images to go with it. And I will
exactly.
say, a lot of people bought Vogue because of Jeffrey. We had him exclusive, and there a lot of our subscribers were there for Jeffrey's piece.
And so I think she thought because I gave such a different, probably different, thoughtful answer. And again, as like it doesn't seem to compute that I would be like, I like the food critic at Vogue. That's how I started. I was there from like officially like January until I want to say like Paris Fashion Week or whatever that year. So like 2 months, right? So it was pretty quick.
Yeah.
The first assistant was going to business school. So the managing editor at the time basically called me an assistant number two in.
Number one assistant was leaving.
Was
So
number two
wouldn't
was
you?
being so number two was going to be promoted to number one,
Right.
but number two at the time really, like as I said, really didn't like me. Like she really wanted me out. Like
Okay.
it was if I the way I am now, like I'm very resilient, is because she forced me to get a thick skin. She was really just mean. But anyway, basically the situation was numbers two and number three don't get along. Number two's been here longer. Number three, you gotta go. And so I like signed a very, like cool situation where they were like, you can come back at some point, whatever. They gave me severance and I left. Which I thought was
N-
like I don't think I would get severance now.
And did you talk to Anna before you left? Did she say
She was
anything?
in Paris.
Oh,
She was in
right.
Paris for Fashion Week. So by the time some of the editors came back, they had shot me notes like to my Gmail because I had left like some of them like Tawny, etc., some of them like handwritten notes thanking them for giving me like the opportunity and the chance. Same thing with Anna. So like again, I did want everybody to understand I was supremely grateful for them taking a chance on me, so early on, especially in such a role. And that I was sad that it was ending so abruptly. But again, it wasn't the right role for
So
me.
how did you handle that? Because that is important, how you handle disappointment or how you might internalize failure,
Hmm.
which looking back only led you on the path you were supposed to be on. But
Totally.
at the time, it's pretty devastating.
The most devastating thing in the universe. Like here I am, like early 20 something, finally like in what I think is my dream role, right? At my dream place. I do remember immediately after it all happened, I like made sure that the like exit agreement was like all kosher and then I signed it with like lawyers and stuff. But immediately after I went to Prada and I bought like several sweaters, went to lunch with a girlfriend and I was like, okay, like today is going to be the one day where we're just going to like enjoy ourselves, whatever. The week after was kind of touch and go in the sense where it was like you're like what should I be focusing on next? What is my next move? All that kind of stuff. But then that second week, I gotten several job offers, which was really cool. And so it was very reassuring because again, at that point, you think to yourself, maybe I'm not worthy of a
Right.
role in
Maybe
X
this
industry.
isn't the right
Totally.
path for me.
Totally. But again, I mean, you said it earlier. I knew like my parents bet on me, and so I had to bet fully on myself, and I did, and that's why again I went temporarily to Gilt Group. At the time, it was like the flash sale site. They had all of the designers on there. When I had just been at Vogue in accessories, we had worked on a collaboration with Gilt that was launching as I was starting at Gilt Group. So it was really
Oh.
cool. So I got to like work on that. I learned how to code, which I sadly don't know how to do anymore, but I wish I did. But anyway, it was really cool being on the operations and back end side of what was at the time the leading like flash sale site. That
Yeah, it
was
really was.
yeah.
It was a big deal. And that explains a lot because you seem to know a lot of different aspects of the industry, and knowledge is power. It's great to actually know the front, the back, the middle of how a business works, how a fashion magazine works. So then what happened after Guilt?
So I was at Gilt from literally March whenever it was until September. So Sally Singer had been at Vogue as the fashion news and features director. And so when I was there, I was going back to her office because like I would have to get stuff. Like Anna would do the AWOK and I would give it back to Sally and stuff like that. Anyway, I lived in Chelsea, so I ran into Sally and stuff like that, and I knew she was taking over the New York Times Style magazine. So I had reached out. She was still building her team. She gave me a chance as a fashion associate alongside one other girl who was, already hired. It was amazing. And
Wow.
and I had said and this is the one thing I will always credit Sally on. She knows how to put together this like misfit band of creatives that just work very well together. So she had taken with her from Vogue Sarah Moonves, who was the assistant at the time to Phyllis Posnick. She took Ethel Park, who at the time had been Andre Leon Talley and Tawny Goodman's assistant, as our fashion editors. And then she brought Vanessa Trena on board, who's fabulous and who I was assigned to work with directly. So love Vanessa. That was like the best experience ever. But it was because of Sally that I really, one, got my foot back in the fashion editorial way. At Gilt, it was awesome and I was still in fashion, but I was there, to your point, on the business side, on the
Mhm.
consumer side. And it was cool. It was interesting, but I missed the storytelling aspect. I missed being part, basically driving the conversation as opposed to driving the sales. Like I knew I still had more I wanted to get out there. Plus, again, the New York Times was also on my list. That's insane.
Right.
It's the style magazine, but as you know, I'm very driven. I got to write for Styles because I messaged the editor and I set up a coffee and I was like, I would love to contribute. Bill Cunningham was there. I got to like see him work on his layouts and he like asked me my opinion. Like how many people get to say
Yeah.
shit like that? Not a lot.
Yeah.
It was insane. And it's because Sally believed in me and gave me a chance that I was even there. So I'm very
And
grateful.
how long? I know Sally didn't last that long there. I did like what she did for T, but it was different than what T had been formerly.
Totally.
So I don't know what exactly happened there.
So during that era, it's the 2010 to 2012 era in media, just for context for everybody. WWD is basically a gossip rag at this point, and what they were doing was pitting Sally's T against Deborah Needleman's WSJ. And so every week or whatever, they would compare our like advertising numbers, they would compare all this stuff. We were kicking their butts, but at the same time, that was a really new product. WSJ had just launched, so it was like much more democratic in the sense of how they were positioning luxury. Sally's, to Jill's point, was very specific. So anyway, Sally was there for 2 years or like 2 years and change or whatever. And then there was, as you said, it was like an abrupt changeover. All of the old team basically like left. And Sally went back to Vogue. Sarah went back to Vogue. I think I don't remember where Ethel went. I think she went to like Allure or something. Vanessa and I stayed on only because Deborah Needleman, shockingly, was appointed the editor of T. And
Oh.
yeah,
And
and
she
so
kept you on.
she kept me on. She did. Deborah did get rid of some other members of the like beauty team and features entertainment team. And that was her choice.
Yeah, for everyone out there, that's something that happens very frequently. A new editor in chief comes in and they change the whole team. They want to bring in their new team. Sometimes it's a fear of the loyalty is still with the other editor. So that's a typical thing that
Totally.
happens.
In this, you inherit, you make decisions, intelligent decisions. You don't just arbitrarily fire people.
Hmm.
And then as Jill said, you build up your team. You build up your team with people whom you value, whom you respect, whom from a creative standpoint. That's why I wanted to work with you at Michelin. But back to tea for a second. When the new era came on, um I kind of knew I was like, I gotta get back out. I had to let Sally and the rest of them get their feet wet at Vogue.com. So that's what they were doing. They were all going back, but in a digital capacity. And this is, again, the era 2013, 2014, when .com was still like the digital home of style.com, Vogue, and W. So it was aggregating magazine articles and doing very limited digital first series. So it was really early days. At T, I had built up an audience. I had built up like credibility in like celebrity style. I did a thing called like Look of the Moment because T's website was called The Moment originally or whatever. I think they changed the name, but my point is this. I had done like style columns, I had done market columns, all this kind of different categories to see what worked, to see what is an audience interested in. How can we bring celebrity into this context in a way where our readers will engage with it. So it was cool.
And without having to pay for a shoot. I mean, that's also
Oh,
a way
totally,
to do it.
totally. Jill knows I'm very cost conscious. Like I am all about maximizing one's revenues and you know, if you can use a chic shot of somebody on a red carpet and get the same message out there as you would if you were to do a like $30,000 shoot, use the Getty image. License it for $75 or whatever it charges editorially. Are you kidding me? The effect is still the same.
Yeah, and I know
Um,
when Sally came back, because obviously I was there, that a lot of focus was being put on digital. We were behind the times at Vogue. We really relied on advertisers and print. We still were very much wedded to the physical magazine, but everyone else in the industry was moving forward into the digital world. And I know bringing Sally back, there was a great emphasis for everyone to acknowledge that there is a digital world and we must be in it. So I could see, I remember that team being built up. And at first, we were very separate. And you could talk more about this than I can, but who we were featuring on Vogue.com, the talent that were getting the most hits and the most following were not the same celebrities that were in the magazine. And I know it was a bit tricky. It was church and state in a bit, but let's start with when did you go back and what was your position back at Vogue.com?
so it's been long enough. I will give you an exclusive on Going Rogue. Confidentially. Um, when I was still at T, I was at the jewelry shows in Las Vegas. I get a phone call at like God knows what hour, like 11 something at night. It's Chelsea, who is Zalopany, who works with Sally, and they're both back at Vogue. Chelsea's like, hey, Sally has an idea for you about a celebrity column. I start this celebrity column. It's called Five Stars. Basically, it's five paparazzi shots of five different celebrities in one trend. So it can be like denim mini skirts, or it can be like boho dresses, or I don't know, the same handbag, what have you. I did it anonymously for a full year. I got paid really well,
Oh
mind
my
you. I got
gosh.
paid better as a contributor than I did as a staffer. And I was trying to negotiate the contributor rate. But anyway, um, I did that for a year anonymously. It was their most traffic
Well,
columns.
why didn't you just go over there
Oh,
at the
I was also in the process of buying a co-op, so I needed to show job stability. So I waited until the board approved me, and then literally I resigned the next day from the Times and accepted the role at Vogue.
wait, so you didn't leave the Times to go to Condé Nast because of an apartment?
I mean, it was also we wanted to see if the column would work. I mean, it was
Okay.
twofold. It was twofold, but I mean, again, it was nice having that job stability for London Terrace.
Okay, so then you're at Vogue.
I'm
Did
back
you
at Vogue.
did you have to meet with Anna again?
No, because at that point, like digital, to your point, the company had made such a huge investment in digital. And so if this is who they believed in, and they brought me along with I want to say two other external hires at the time, Alessandra Codina, who I believe was coming from either Bazaar or WWD, and one other person who I can't remember. It was I think Anna had such faith in Sally's like group that, and again, she knew me as like a known quantity. You know, it's not like I had done anything wrong. It was just like
Right.
not the right role. So no, I didn't have to meet with her again.
So then right when you get back to Vogue, you start this column.
Yes. So I had negotiated for, and I won't lie, given everything that had gone down before, I said, let's start off as contributing style editor and test each other out for a year and then reassess the relationship afterwards. Because I wanted it to be, if I was going back to this place, I did want it to somewhat be on my terms. Them telling me I was doing the most popular column did give me that confidence. It's like, I know what I'm capable of. I know I'm good at this. So I just want to caveat that. Like, if like people know your worth, like definitely don't be cocky about it, but like the early part of a negotiation is the most important part. Anyway, I go back. What was your question? I'm sorry.
So when you get back to Vogue, you immediately start on this
Oh, the
five-star
column.
column.
We start on 5 stars, and immediately from there, like we're still doing it, but I'm talking with our product and engineering teams on like what is the next functionality coming out? What are we going to be investing in next so that like I can start thinking about how do we make this better? How do we make this type of content more attractive moving forward? And so I know that from a visual perspective, Sally had brought on a lot of like different types of video people. So like, are we able to level this up where we start making the shoots with digital subjects? And we'll talk about choice of people in a second. But like, are we able to start doing these things, making them saleable, similar to what the magazine does, but in a much more in real time way? So like, click to buy due to
Oh,
affiliate linking. And so that's why, again, like being at Gilt gave me that kind of perspective that I normally would not have had. Like, to your point, it was still early days. We could have been a leader in digital selling. And I think we were in an editorial perspective. I do think we could have pushed things further. I
okay.
really
So
do.
then with your airport
Oh,
images, when you're
favorite.
spotting celebrities out and about at an airport, are you thinking about what they're wearing and if it exists for the reader or the, I don't know what you call it when
Yeah.
someone's following the followers of your column. So you couldn't pick something that was couture.
Yeah,
You
of
could,
course you
okay.
can. Of course you can because like again, you can always have it be like shop similar or whatever.
Okay, got it.
I will say this, I love that airport style is a thing. I know literally I remember back when I was there the amount of stylists who hated me because they were like we now have to dress our clients up to go to like an airport. And I was like, "Look, if I'm looking put together and I'm in denim, your client can too. They're photographed by everybody." By the way, I am wearing a sweater that both Jimin and one of the girls from Blackpink wore at an airport. This is my airport sweater, actually.
That's genius. So
Um,
would Anna or Sally say to you, we need to promote jeans. We have to promote Levi's. So find someone with a great jean walking through an airport so that we can offer a Levi version to our customer.
it actually happened in reverse, if you can believe it. So I have one very specific context. Gigi Hadid, like way, way long ago, 2016 era, wore these Stuart Weitzman over the knee gray suede boots. And she wore it with like a gray sweater dress. And she wore it many different ways. And so I remember I was covering it and I was like, it's her favorite over the knee boot, blah, blah, blah. Lo and behold, she then gets a contract with Stuart Weitzman. But Weitzman, because they saw the traffic that our site was bringing to that boot style, took out branded content with us, digital advertising, digital banners. I did SpawnCon, obviously unbylined once as like a test to show the like team of writers who the publishing side had brought on how to do sponsored branded content that still felt like organic editorial content. And it performed really well. I have to say, it wouldn't come from Anna or Sally. Susan Plageman, our publisher at the time, who's president of WME Fashion now, would send emails to me with Anna and Sally in copy being like, I just saw your piece on this, love you. They just came in for advertising. Thank you so much. They just saw this piece. Like, we're really appreciative of what you do. And just getting those emails from Susan with like Anna and Sally in copy because I know I wasn't always going to get it from Anna. I know I wasn't always going to get it from Sally, but to get it from the business side, the revenue side, that understood that like showing the commercial side of fashion to an audience that like just wants to buy something chic, that just wants to buy something cool, it's not bad. It's not a dirty thing to be commercial. It just showed me that you can be chic, but you can also be commercial at the same time. It
Well,
was
that
really
can be a double-edged sword, though, if the publisher is so into what you're doing on the editorial side, because that could then influence what you're doing editorially.
it
No?
would always be after the fact. And it
Okay.
wasn't like all the time. It was like, if, as I said, if it was very specific things, and then they like would get a flood of emails from their like specific advertisers being like, "Hey, we love this piece," or "Hey, we're gonna come in because of this."
So
So
no one would call and want that sort of coverage.
no, no.
Oh,
What was really cool was Chominati, who's head of edit for British Vogue now. She was my direct boss, fashion news director at the time, but she gave me like kind of a coterie of writers on that team to like sprinkle out celeb style. So it became just me doing it to like now it was a team of 10, which was awesome and really helpful. Um, it was never a case of, can you guys write about this bag? I will say this. I felt very privileged to be at .com during that era, like 2014 to I'll say like 2017, 2018, where we really could push it. Like we were able to, I got to interview Erica Jane before the whole
I
like thing.
remember when you brought her in.
And that's the thing. Like we got to do stories about like people who are in the fashion sphere, but doing it on their own terms in a still very chic way. So it's still Vogue at the end of the day. It was just again showing it in a different lens.
And how many columns did you have at the time? And what was your deadline situation like? You know,
I
you're having
think
to write, you're having to deliver on a consistent basis.
there were days where I would write up to 6 celeb style stories a day. And by 6 celeb styles, you're talking, it's not like long form, 1,200 word essays. It's between 300 to 750 because you want it to track on Google. And again, like the audience is reading every third word. So there were days I was doing up to 6 of those a day. But to your point, I was also editing our party section, which I thought was tremendously important. And that was the section Anna would message me about, to be honest. Out of everything, that was the one. And I appreciated it because like she knew I took it seriously. It was like I view Vogue party section as the cultural barometer, or like when I was editing it, I viewed it as the cultural barometer. Um, I still think they do a very good job. Anyway, it was hard at times because there were sometimes looks I wanted to actually cover that I would assign out, or interviews where it was like I don't have the time because now I'm managing a team. Now I'm trying to develop deeper relationships with either design houses or with the talent directly, like with you and stuff like that on meet and greets, so that we can start doing different types of stories around celebrities, around their style. That's when we started doing a lot more expanded coverage of red carpet. Again, prior to my joining, I really wanted to take the way I got the job, or the way I was able to build the job into what I wanted it to be, was at that moment, In Style was the only title that really covered celebrity red carpet. I personally didn't think it was that great. And I said, Vogue is the fashion authority of record. We need to be doing this. So we started doing it. And I was like, we're going to get the stylist to do photo diaries. We're going to go to the jewelry houses and say, tell us the making of this one of a kind piece you made for such and such person. And then we started doing video. And then slowly and slowly, as we saw different social medias come about, that's when they started integrating me into some of the content, which whatever, but
Right.
like it became fun.
But how about if there was no one chic walking through an airport one day? Like, how would you make sure you always had up to five different celebrities?
We switched it from 5 stars when we saw that like traffic was still good, but I was like, why are we giving away so much in one column? I
Right.
can break this apart. And so we started doing it as just single people. And then that's how we started building up their fashion personas and fashion profiles. So, like, Dakota Johnson was somebody whose maybe style you wouldn't have recognized, but because we wrote about it on a daily basis, where it's like she's pairing her Sambas with like a Gucci, like vintage blazer and like vintage 501s. And then the next day you would see her in like the same Sambas, but with like a rose slip dress. Like, that's how we were doing it. We were identifying the people who we knew were going to be really shaping not just how like the runways were going to look, but how everyday people were actually going to start dressing.
Well, I definitely took advantage of Vogue.com when I was trying to pitch a cover of a celebrity. So, for instance, if I wanted Dakota Johnson for a cover, and if I got Anna to agree, we would utilize you and the team to start building her up with our audience, our reader, so that when she got that cover, when the cover hit stands, our Vogue readers expected it because that was going to be her first
Exactly.
cover really ever. So we always wanted the first cover with a new celebrity instead of following maybe what a bazaar did with the celebrity. We wanted to showcase her, anoint her an it girl of Vogue, a Vogue girl, and to do that we needed to start building and planting the seeds, so to speak, so that it was almost expected that, oh, there's her Vogue cover, not who is she.
Exactly. And that's why I always enjoyed working with you in this capacity because like you always kept me in the loop. You always were like, "Hey, do you have XYZ people on your radar?" The team you also had at the time was also very much like, "Hey, have you guys looked at XYZ?" Even for like runway shows, I would show her like these are the people who are going, these are the people we're potentially planning on doing stuff with, and it would be because like you and I had spoken and I was like, "Okay, like they're going to be featured in XYZ." And I was like, okay, let me see if like they're gonna be at Dior or what have you and stuff like that. Just
Right.
again to really show the audience like why we're choosing this person, why this person is a fashion person, why this person is like, a Vogue girl, as you said.
And then if when you're getting the photos together and you're choosing who you're going to
Oh, yeah.
feature, uh, did you always know what they're wearing, or did you have to contact
So
contact them or their stylist to figure
so
it out?
hybrid of both. To answer your first question, how did I find those images? So, and it's sad that I will still do this to this day. There are several like wire photo agencies, Splash News, Backgrid, Getty, Shutterstock, and like one more and whatever. And I also go to BFA to look at like party pictures to see that. That is how like I'm going to all of those places like clockwork every morning when I was doing that job because in the morning you would see all of Europe, the UK, and Asia. So it could always put together maybe like three people, put it together, send it on Slack to Choma, being like, this is what I'm thinking. And she'd be like, use this as a backup. And then we would wait until the first American shots come out for like all the stars who are going to like the morning shows in New York. Today, Good Morning America, Live with Kelly, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when you would usually get one good person who's wearing something solid. In
And
terms
you didn't have to get approval from the celebrity to run the images?
No, because it's all on wire agencies. And so again, because it's Vogue, we're doing positive coverage. We would
Right.
never say like so and so looks like a clown. We would just not cover it.
Well, I guess the
Um,
only time it would be problematic is if, I mean, I doubt this ever happened. Say Beyonce's walking through the airport holding a Coke instead of Pepsi, or, if someone's wearing something that's not the brand that they're contracted to wear.
with Beyonce, what's interesting is, and I got to start doing print magazine stuff like towards the end of my time at Vogue, which was really exciting. But I remember I was doing our like in-book trend pages, which I had wanted to do since I was a kid. And I remember emailing the team at Parkwood, which is the company that Beyonce's entire enterprise, yada yada. And I said, "Do you mind if we use this photo?" And I was like, "It's going to be the lead image. It's going to be," and they were like, "Yes." They did make me send them like a PDF just before so they could
Right.
see it in context. But like Beyonce was an interesting one. She was very specific about like which photographers from like agencies or whatever captured her. And so again, you want to be cognizant of that. But again, think about it. At the same time, like I love our photo editors teams that existed there at the time. And you can ask any of my colleagues because they will know that I was always at odds with them. I chose my own pictures. I know that if a celebrity would not like that, if I didn't like that shot, a celebrity wouldn't like that shot.
Right.
So I was always the one being like, I need the cleanest shot, the shot that like this is gonna sell this point. Because again, if I don't believe it, you don't believe it, like the reader won't either.
And there was a time, though, that you would reach out to the stylists.
Yes, yes. So in terms of credits, there were several like celebrity websites. So it was like Star Style, Red Carpet Fashion Awards. But then I would definitely reach out to the stylist for a bunch just because it wasn't so common. And the looks we were featuring were like day-to-day looks, or at the airport, groceries, shopping, school run, I mean, I definitely like would message Victoria Beckham a lot, being like, "Hey, who is this jacket by?" Because like 99% of the time, she'd be wearing her own stuff, but every once in a while, she'd throw in like a Balenciaga, Celine by Phoebe Philo, and so you're like, "Damn it! Like, is it Phoebe
But
or
you
like?"
just messaged her? Like, how did you even get to the point where you'd message her directly?
She had started her fashion label when I was still at the New York Times. And so Sally knew that I was a huge fan because what Victoria started off as doing was like super modern, minimal tailoring. It started off as dresses and then moved really much into like suiting, tailoring coats with beautiful Savile Row fabrics and just like gorgeous materials. And so I respect that. And obviously I was a huge Posh Spice fan as a kid. Are you kidding me? Obviously I'm a Posh. And so when she launched the label, I worked like a lot with her team at T on exclusives. Like we got the exclusives on her handbag, her first season handbag collection. And so you develop a trust, you develop like a professional friendship and relationship. And so I mean like yeah, I mean I wouldn't do it all the time because again, 99% of the time she was wearing her own stuff. Her team would email me because if I didn't ID it, they'd be like, "Can you say it's pre-fall, blah blah blah,"
Oh, that's
or
funny.
which was really cute.
Yeah,
It was always I enjoyed it when the publicists or the teams would send stuff like that because then it meant that they were actually reading it, and
exactly.
that was always nice.
And wasn't there something with the Kardashians? Weren't you close with Kim
Yes.
or?
So I mean, this should define the time. So my first month at Vogue was the Kimye issue. And so up until this point, mind you, I had never seen an episode of the Kardashians. I still have never seen a full episode of the Kardashians to this day. I know them straight up just from their fashion. Anyway, I had to familiarize myself with his style, her style, and their couple style so that we could have this, as you said, whole digital package
Mhm.
around this really mega cover moment that had never happened before. And so, because of that, I was like, interesting, because obviously she went through a massive style transformation. So, I appreciated that she at least educated herself and she was trying to like learn about the designers and learn about the houses and stuff like that. She's a fellow Armenian American, so obviously I'm going to be always supportive of that. But like, for me, it was really just the intellectual curiosity. Like, she knows she wasn't a fashion person. She's grown into one. And so because of that, I respect it. And so yeah, I remember there was one season of it's defunct, but then Yeezy, and she literally commissioned, or like they had commissioned the company, Splash News to photograph it pap style. And I remember it was always supremely expensive. And I used to have to get, if a photo of a celebrity was more than like $200, I had to get approval, which is crazy because all of my columns were like numbers 1 through 5 daily on like the traffic chart. But anyway, um, so the Kim photos in this exclusive like drop of Yeezy were like $250 each. And I negotiated. I was a pretty strong negotiator. I was like, we want like 3 of these looks, we'll give you this much. Anyway, it was just interesting because yeah, she would then like send a note being like, this is like Yeezy season 6 or like Yeezy whatever.
She would directly send a note to you.
I would get it from the team, from her directly. I remember I got some Met Gala credits or something because I was like, I want to know what you're wearing before.
And then did you guys correspond with each other, like
Oh,
become friends?
I mean, there was, as I said, there were like, there's a professional friendship. It's so funny. Graydon Carter is releasing his memoir, and in it he says he's proud that he's never had a Kardashian at one of the Vanity Fair parties. One of my original premises was, I think I talked to you about this, was taking her to like the VF party because she had never gone, and it was at a point where for me professionally at Vogue, we were trying to think of new ways to make red carpet season like exciting and cool. Like I'd done the Golden Globes thing and it was still really cool, don't get me wrong. But it's like, how do we start integrating the other brands like tentpole moments into the Vogue universe? Like GQ Men of the Year, Vanity Fair Oscar, Glamour Women of the Year, which I had already slowly started bringing into the fold. So it was like exciting for me. That didn't happen, obviously, but like we were emailing back and forth during that period
About
and
doing it.
and DMing about doing that and stuff like
Well,
that.
let's talk about the parties that you either hosted the red carpet, you were the guy on the red carpet, and you're great at it. I mean, I would love to know if you ever even thought about television hosting, because I would totally watch Live with EB. You were
I adore you.
fantastic as a red carpet journalist, interviewer, whatnot. And then you'd also take different celebrities to the Golden Globes, to the Oscar parties. How did that all start?
It started off with the Vogue photo video team downloading Snapchat on my phone. They were like, we want you to get comfortable doing this like on camera and stuff like that. So from there, I was presented an opportunity to go to the Golden Globes with Moet, the champagne brand of the Golden Globes. They were like, we really want you. We want you to choose a date. We were thinking like these people. So that first year, which was like 2015 or something, I took my girlfriend, Olivia Palermo, who at the time, massive Instagram girl, still is like huge style girl, everything. Which I thought was very nice of them, considering the fact that like we are friends. So that first year, we had no idea what we were doing, but it was like style. We leaned very heavily into like Mad Men-esque 1950s. She wore Del Pozo with like old David Webb. I wore a white dinner jacket. We wanted to, if I was going as the first time representing Vogue to this red carpet, do it elegantly. Bring somebody who represents grace and poise, and that's what we did. So year one really was just about establishing our
And
presence
did you walk the red carpet at the Golden Globes?
with her. Well, I let her do the big moment alone, but yeah, we did it. We did it together.
Was it crazy? What was it like?
Very bizarre. Because you have like two sides. You've got photographers on one side and you've got like fans on the other, and so you're getting screamed at from both sides. But that first year, it was weird. Like you're taking everything in.
Hmm.
And as a friend of hers, because I've known her literally, we were interns together at Quest, the Society magazine, when we started. Um, it's exciting to see your friend also have that moment for herself. And so it was really cool being able to share that. That was another cool part of being at Vogue, was being able to share moments like that with really
Right.
close friends. Um, and so anyway, but in the subsequent years, so then it was M. Radha Priyanka, the Kendall Jenner year. I won't lie, you are never fully prepared for like fandemonium at that level, and it's insane. The girl is the sweetest human being on earth. I have always loved her style on or off duty, and so I just remember it was insane.
What did she wear
She
that
wore
year?
Jean-Baptiste Valli haute couture and Lorraine Schwartz jewelry. A friend of mine loves to give me shit for saying that, and like will always post it on his IG for my birthday. But anyway, it was this massive train. And so I remember her stylist, Marnie, had very intelligently sewn like a bag inside the dress to put the bulk of the train so that when she was sitting at
Oh.
dinner, it wasn't this massive thing, which was, as I said, super clever. Anyway, fast forward to after the ceremony. We're in the ceremony takes place at the Beverly Hilton. It's connected to the Waldorf, which is also a Hilton property. We went through the kitchen with her guard, up to her and Haley then Baldwin's like suite so that they could change into after party stuff. It was just like it's those moments that are just like really funny. Or yeah, I
Yeah,
just
because I remember seeing you and Priyanka at one of the after parties
oh my
that other
God.
year.
Uh Jill, oh my God, at that point, oof. We saw each other at Chateau Marmont at the, I want to say it was like CA or one of those
It was
parties.
WME's party and Elle
WMEs.
Fanning. I introduced you to Elle Fanning.
Elle Fanning, who is still one of the most adorable human beings on earth. And yes, Jill took one of the sweetest photographs. So those were more the contexts where I was more like quiet and reserved, shockingly, just because the red carpet, that's the easy part. Like that's where you just, it's
Right.
the more intimate things. It's like I'm good with you.
Well, and then when did you get the gig where you were the one interviewing stars on the red carpet?
Oh, for the Met Gala? Oh
Yeah.
my
And the
God.
Tonys. I've seen a lot of
Oh,
them that you've done.
yeah, they got their money's worth, I'll say that much. Met Gala, I remember we started off on Facebook Live, and it was Machus Ex Machina. So I had I like again for Met, typically you have to get like your outfit approved if you're like junior. I was in this weird hybrid where I wasn't junior, but I wasn't like senior. But again, being .com, being nebulous and whatever, like just show up and dress well. It has always been my motto. Anyway, so I had silver in my hair because it was like meant to mimic like the machine, but not. Facebook Live after the gala. My back is to the red carpet, so I have no idea who's coming down. And this is what they had me do. And so I'm desperately trying to get celebrity. So I'm going like this, I'm going like this. Thank God for Tom Ford being the sweetest human being on earth. He was the first one. He talked to me. He was so handsome, so charming, and just made me feel very comfortable so that I was able to talk to like Wiz Khalifa, Gigi Hadid, Zach Posen, Claire Danes. That first year, though, was so awkward, just given the position I was in, that I remember as we were ending it, and again, Facebook Live, you could hear me say, "Was that terrible?" And so you see all of these comments being like, "No," and all this kind of stuff. And it was
So were
very
you at the
sweet.
top of the stairs? Like, was everyone
Bottom
told
of
at the
the
bottom of the
stairs. So
stairs?
you saw, as I'm like being like, tonight's theme was all about like blah, blah, blah. And like you saw the gentlemen were wearing XYZ. You see all of these people coming down. And I'm also being told like who to try to go for because they can see the comments in real time. So it's just like there's a lot going on. So obviously, after the success of that first year, they were like, we're going to move you to the top of the staircase and looking down at everyone so you can actually see things. And I was like, thank
Yeah.
you guys. And and we had moved it to before everybody goes inside so that I'm not dealing with like
Of
you
course, people definitely don't want to be seen at that point if they've been drinking, if they just want to get to their
well,
room
everybody
to
wants to go to the
change.
after parties.
Mm,
To your point, some people might have like smoked, drank things,
yeah,
whatever. And so it's live. Like expletives
right.
happened on that Facebook Live, and I was like, shit, am I gonna get fired? I didn't, obviously. So anyway, once it moved to Instagram Live and it was at the top of the staircase, it was really cool. Because you want to be my goal during my second era of Vogue was to make it a place that was still chic inherently, but to make everybody, whether you're a celebrity or you're just coming to the website or picking up the magazine to read, you felt included. You felt like the fashion was for you, that the people that were being interviewed, profiled, or whatever somehow represented a facet of you. And so to be at the top of the stairs, which I think is bizarre, all of these celebrities are like, oh my God, I'm so happy that part's done. I get it. It's a lot of photographers and stuff like that, but you're wearing a beautiful outfit. Like, come on, people.
Right.
They would always be like, oh, there's just this huge sense of relief. It was always nice being able to be that calm moment for them where they could just kind of talk about the fashion, talk about something irreverent, something fun, and then go inside. I won't lie,
And
not everybody was great.
and how do you prepare for that though? I mean, it's much different when you're holding notes or doing a phoner
I
versus you're live. You don't really know who you're going to be speaking to next. Obviously, you know who you hope to be. You hope it's Rihanna, Beyonce, Tom Brady, or I do. But you're in real time, you're learning what they're even wearing. So how
um
did you handle that?
so in terms of the know what they're wearing part, all of the prep behind the scenes that you guys would normally never see at .com was that in about 6 to 8 weeks before, if not a little bit earlier, I was already reaching out to the stylists, to the design houses, to some of the celebrities directly, being like, "Hey, we want to do XYZ photo diary. We want to do the Met special issue." Back in the day, the Condé Nast used to print like a special issue of like best photos from the Met Gala and stuff like that. So I knew pretty much who everybody for the most part was wearing. Again, you had your like Kims, your Rihannas, your Beyoncés, who like were always wild cards and you didn't know. But um, how did I prepare? I prepared from that perspective. I would know for the most part who was going to be there just from again like a content perspective. I needed to know. Um, you just again your goal as an interviewer is to I always say this, but charm and disarm, like again, make them feel comfortable, so talk to them about something that's safe. So for instance, there was one year where it was actually my last year, I think, Heavenly Bodies 2018, and Ocean's 8 was about to come out, and there was like a big, like, it centered around the Met Gala. So I remember each time I saw like a Sarah Paulson or a Mindy Kaling or an Anne Hathaway, I asked them about that. And I was like, how does this compare to like blah, blah, blah? And like, obviously, all those women had been to numerous Met Galas before, but it's just like a fun way to like, bring something up that they'll enjoy.
And was there anyone that was just totally boring who just didn't want to answer questions and just wanted to get in?
I will say that like, I love talking to Sarah Jessica Parker, but I felt like sometimes she was rushed off the red carpet by her date sometimes.
Interesting. And I saw the
And
Katy Perry interview when she had the huge wings. That was hilarious.
I was so scared, one, of her hitting me with those things, but also like me accidentally like hitting her and ruining that outfit just because it was so insane. That I won't lie, like Heavenly Bodies was like, in my opinion, one of the best years from a fashion perspective. Some were costumey, but like the bulk did pay reverence to like the theme in just like the chicest, as I said, most reverent way. Those wings were insane. And I talked to her stylist about them, and she was like, there was no other way to transport her except in like an open car.
I mean, that was hilarious. And any other highlights from the Met red carpet? Someone
Yes.
that you were totally starstruck by and a
Um,
little nervous when you saw them walking towards you?
Amal and George Clooney. Like literally.
Wow.
Like everybody has their like if you're a journalist, you have the places you want to work as like a dream and you have the subjects you've always wanted to interview. So at Vogue, I had my hit list and like Amal Clooney, in another life, I wish I was a human rights attorney who's gorgeous and elegant and well spoken. I'd always wanted to speak with her. I I think both of them are super cool. And I love that she's not afraid to wear certain fashion things, similar coloring. So again, I like that too. So when I got to talk to her, and it was so funny because all my friends texted me like in real time, but obviously I couldn't see it. They were like,
Right.
"You're not paying attention to George Clooney. Why aren't you asking George Clooney any questions? You're only focusing on Amal." And I was like, "People, have you not met me? Like, I don't care about him. What am I supposed to talk to him about? The Nespresso campaign with Danny DeVito? I care about her. Talk to like she's in Richard Quinn. Like, come
Yeah.
on. It's
Yeah,
Amal
what I,
Clooney."
I want to hear your list. Who are your tops? Your top best dressed of all time. Who do you consider best dressed street style? Who do you consider to be the top five best dressed as street style versus red carpet?
Street style for sure, Rihanna, but she can be both. Victoria Beckham, like
Hmm.
legit, I do like how she still puts like outfits together to this day. It's just clean. The Olsens. So I never got like I've never gotten to interview them. I've only been at like row appointments and stuff like that. They are elusive and I would want to talk to them about not their fashion label, but literally their personal style to your point.
Right.
Um, the Olsen street
That's
style.
funny that you say that because Vogue.com just did a piece on their spring style.
On the
The
Olsen
Olsen,
spring
yeah,
style?
yeah.
It's again, it's one of those things. It's like you know how to mix high low. You know how to mix like super old beaten up with like again a ratty fur, but not make it look like Grey Gardens, but make it look like an elevated take on that. It's a very unique proposition. Who else? I mean, I definitely look at more than that. Come back. I'll come back to the rest. Like
Yeah.
literally, Rihanna is somebody who I think everybody should look to for from a fashion perspective only because you see that she genuinely enjoys it. And that's how fashion should be. It should be something that people enjoy, that you feel like your truest self in at all times. And that's
Yeah.
why she was always somebody I wanted to interview. And she was somebody I didn't mind waiting. Actually, that's a lie. I did mind waiting, but like I waited like 4 or 5 hours and I was like, it's still worth it.
No, I always say about Rihanna that she's always sexy. And to me, confidence is sexy. So she can wear a sweatsuit, a huge fur, a huge blanket on the red carpet, and she's sexy because there's
Exactly.
confidence there. She does not have to be half naked to be sexy. And I really admire that about her. And that's something I will continue to tell my daughter until she's
Do it.
18 because it's
Um,
important.
Kendall Jenner and Hailey Bieber are the other two street style people. Like, I like Hailey's evolution. Like, I again, like this. I was a huge fan of hers when she was Hailey Baldwin. I felt like she definitely got like a lot of hate, and so I was like, this poor girl, she's so sweet. And Kendall Jenner, I think, has done a tremendous job at. So, like, I love the Walmart Birkin. I love, the $20 Picotine on TikTok. I'm gonna give my Hermes bags a break for a second, but I like how Kendall Jenner is integrating hers because obviously this girl can have any of them between all 12 sisters. I'm sure they have every bag. I like how she's doing it in a very like old school Ralph Lauren way where it just feels like classic American luxury. It doesn't feel like it's forced in your face. And it's just chic. I like it.
Okay, so now we're ending your Vogue years.
Mhm.
What was the transition out of Vogue to Victoria Beckham? Had you felt like you had done all you wanted to do, all you had dreamed of doing at Vogue, and it was just time? I find myself staying at the party too long all the time, not knowing when to leave. I spent 20 years there. I like how you have I like how your career, it there's great starting points and you always transition at the perfect time, either right before something is going down or, when it's getting same old, same old. So how did you get to that point at Vogue that you felt it was time to move on?
Um, so I had my hit list of interviewees, and after I had done Amal Clooney at the Met Gala, I was like, I did it. Amal, Victoria, Rihanna, Kim Kardashian West, and I don't like VB, I guess. I think is what I had said, or was on my list. Um, I had been able to do the Flash trend pages, which was like a hybrid of like party pages, trends on people, but on celebrities. And so when Anna and Mark Holgate asked me to like contribute to the magazine, and this was in like 2016, 2017, one hugely proud moment for me, like personally, like it was really cool. And to be able to do those types of pages that I knew our readers would love because it's stuff they want to see. That was cool. So I had done that. I had contributed to the print magazine, with an article, minimally, but like here or there. But I had that regular monthly column. So at that point, and I got to play myself in Ocean's 8, which is pretty cool. So like I had done so much. And to your point, like also being editors of the party section, I know when it's like, okay, like I'm gonna Irish exit, and like it wasn't that it wasn't that I was unfulfilled because that's not correct. And it's not that I was bored. I won't lie. Like, when you write the celebrity style stuff, if you're writing like I love it, but at a certain point you want to do more. You don't only want to just be selling the Stuart Weitzman over the knee boot. Like you want to do bigger, greater things. You want to see these things evolve. When I went to the editorial business manager, basically when I had been in conversations with Victoria Beckham and her team to take this role, we were getting like a lot of the paperwork together. I had went and basically said like, look, I have been presented an opportunity for X. I bleed Vogue. I will always bleed this brand. You've known me now in two capacities for blah, blah, blah. You've seen my results. Like, I basically wanted some sort of firm commitment with like a little bit more money. And they were like, no. Um, the one thing I wonder about, but like then I don't, is if I had just gone straight to Anna, just given the dynamic of the relationship at that point, because she had seen me as like an editor, which again, hugely appreciate that. Like that's huge. Um, and I like when she would challenge me on the trend pages in the magazine and she'd be like, is there a better look? And I'd be like, no, there's not. This is literally that is the best picture of that person, I'm telling you. Um, anyway, I wonder if I had gone straight to her with this if things would have worked out differently. That being said, I don't think professionally anything would have changed for me. I think I still would have been not stunted, but like just going through the motions. And
Hmm.
for me, and this is something I hope your audience takes away, sometimes you need to leave the place where like you've always wanted to be to get to the next place where you want to be because you don't know what it is if you stay in this cozy cocoon. I
Right.
literally uprooted myself and moved to London. How did I exit? I resigned. So after basically I was told like we're not going to give you more money, I signed the contract with Victoria. Literally only my parents knew for about a month or two before I then resigned officially in December of whatever year that was to Anna. I had one more Golden Globes where I took Gemma Chan, and I said I was going to host the first Vogue 100, which is like their membership club event with the stylist Kate Young after the Golden Globes, because again, like I will always be supportive of the brand. Supported me to get to where I am. So I did that. I won't lie. After that, I was sick for a week. I think like literally, like the thing about Vogue is it's super glamorous. It's super cool. You get to meet the coolest people. You get to do the coolest things that like 99% of the public will never do. But it is draining top to bottom in the sense that if you're actually doing it, if you're actually doing the role and taking as much opportunity as it provides you, then your body will break at a certain point.
Hmm.
So after going for like 5 years straight, that first day when I got back from California and I had, I want to say like 6 days in between Vogue and Victoria, only because at the time Victoria was about to launch Reebok and YouTube. And so there was a lot of investment, both coming from the business side, but also like YouTube for us to like produce like good content. And that's part of the reason why I was brought on board. Um, I was in bed for a good 4 out of those 6 days because I just like I was so exhausted, drained, definitely like dehydrated and like just hadn't eaten that much. So yeah, it was a lot. But then it was off to London and yeah,
And what was that role? Like, I
head
know it
of
was a new
editorial.
role.
It
Okay.
was so when I resigned to Anna, she asked, "What job are you taking?" And again, I remember very vividly when Victoria offered it to me. She said, "Is Anna going to be okay?" I said, "You guys are friends. Like, I, you guys will weather this. You guys are friends. You're professionals. Whatever." Anna, when I resigned, said, "What does that mean?" And I said, "Oh, it's translating her brand's voice through all digital platforms and own channels." Lo and behold, head of editorial is now used globally. So, it was I personally applaud Victoria and the board and the team that were visionary enough because no real brands had had editorial as like a defined role prior to her. And what was interesting was, and the reason I wanted to work for her is yes, I love her, I love the brand's aesthetic and all that stuff. But she had a digital store before she had a physical retail store. Because I remember I covered it at T. I like that she was always much more digitally minded. She understood how to use social. She understood how to connect to an audience. My role was to take that and also like push that more onto the brand side so that more people saw the brand side and her
So, what would that mean exactly? That you were building a story around a specific product?
around the brand as a whole. Like she had the brand narrative. The brand had existed for 10 years up until that point. Up until that point. But now we were about to introduce beauty. So I needed to reinforce, and she had already done a phenomenal job of doing this as a beauty junkie. Like she'd gone to Lanzerhof. Our beauty team at Vogue used to cover her stuff. But what I did was, okay, you're working with like this woman who, Sarah Krill is her name, who comes from Estee Lauder. Like, let's talk about you guys as female founders, entrepreneurs. You're doing a product with Augustinus Batters. Let's talk to you, Victoria, about your skin health. Like, why is it important to you? What were the issues you faced, like when you were in the Spice Girls, before as an adolescent? Set up the story, set up the foundation for what you're about to launch so that when you do, everybody's like, her skin's incredible. Clearly, there's like cause and effect. And
Okay,
so
so
be
it's almost like she was the brand ambassador
yes.
herself for her own brand. So she was doing the content that maybe a Kendall Jenner would have done for Estee Lauder.
So, yes, but then part two of it was on the other side, bringing in the other people who are representative of Victoria's interests, hobbies, whatever. So, like, she goes to the theater a lot. So, at her fashion show, we had Sophie Okonedo as like one of our like VIPs. She loves minimal style. So, Gaia Raposi was there. She loves female filmmakers. Gia Coppola was there. It's just, again, plucking out those figures who are evocative of the brand values, but also her values, so that maybe not everybody will like I always said this. Every woman or every person will aspire to be VB. Like the woman will look flawless doing the school run, dropping off that kid, blowout, makeup, everything. We need to show people you can wear those clothes or you can wear that like makeup and stuff and integrate it more in your everyday life. And that's what the other people were for.
And how did you like that? How did you find working for Victoria similar or different than working with Anna?
Victoria and Anna are similar in that they're both obviously British, but they have a good business American and like mindset in terms of like we want to speak to a big audience. We want to sell to a large consumer base. And that's why I respect them tremendously because they understand that. Um it like Vogue's a very decisive environment. Love. And I feel like it spoiled me for every other job because like not everyone's decisive. You have to convince people, right? In any
Mhm.
normal industry, you have to get people on your side. Um it's about key stakeholders and getting them to understand like working with you is better than working against you and stuff like that. So, you know, it was tough because you had to convince a lot of people, we need to invest in XYZ, or like we need to start thinking about our atelier doing custom one-off or blah blah blah. Like it's just little things like that. But again, I felt privileged because they let me spearhead like our corporate social responsibility initiative, so Pride. They were already under development of the first ever like VB Pride campaign. It was a really cute t-shirt. It said everyone deserves love in like rainbow foil. And they were like, okay, like you're gay. Like we want you to spearhead this and like find us a charity, like come up with like all of the like marketing, all that kind of stuff. And that was really cool because again, like I feel like if you are at a place that has a voice and a platform, find what's important to whatever that brand is, or help that brand or person define it because you have an opportunity to really do some good. We raised awareness for the AKT Trust, which helps like British youth homelessness and all that kind of stuff. It was cool. And then it carried on for several other years. I'm sad that they didn't like continue on like this year. It's only been like a few years, but maybe it'll come back. And like, it was just really it was really cool.
Well, it seems like a lot of the positions you held through your career were new positions
Hmm.
created for you, or not, they didn't exist before you had them. I mean, that's really cool in one way, but it's also hard in another. It's great because you're not being compared to a predecessor. You are able to do things your way. You're coming in and really taking control of what this will be, what your legacy will be there, what the imprint is that you're going to make there. But it also is hard sometimes for the other side to understand because you're not being compared to anything else.
Totally. So I think at Vogue it was a known, like you're correct. They didn't have a style editor before. Like to be honest, I was just like, who are the people that paved the way for me to get here? Andre Hamish, so many others, but like those, like Billy Norwich, like so many, but like those two from a fashion perspective, most specifically. So like, I will never, I would love to, I will never be at their level. And so style editor felt like appropriate, right? Or
Mhm.
style director, whatever they called me. Um, Victoria, same thing. Like, I think it goes back to what you said before. Like I knew what I wanted to do. I was very focused, I was very driven. And so again, I wasn't going to squander any opportunity. I was going to continually prove myself. In terms of the results, that's why I feel like I've been given the autonomy at a lot of these very esteemed places because they know that like it's not my brand, but I want everybody to feel as passionately about this brand as I do. Or love this product as much as I do because like arbiter of taste, obviously. No, it's
So, how long were you at VB and how was that transition? I
I
know I missed you not having you in New York, but we did get to see each other in London because I was working with British Vogue at the time. And of course, you helped dress me for the BAFTA after party. But how long were you in London and
um
when did you decide to come back?
I was in London for a year and change. Shout out to JD. She always had me at the British Vogue BAFTA parties. Oh my God, like introduced me to my God, this actress, and we actually wound up going to like a polo thing together, which I thought was really cute.
And I think Youngblood was with us one year.
Youngblood was amazing. It was the Tomlinson girl because I saw her at Polo and she was wearing Victoria Beckham, and so like you're just incredible because like again, you welcomed me even though you and Edward Enninful had like this like OG coterie of like people you knew and stuff like that. It was very nice. Um, so my time at VB was really cool, but it was also like it sucks. It used to happen in traditional editorial. Like there were periods at Vogue, and I'm sure you saw it, where like people would leave in waves and people would join in waves, right? So when I was at VB, it was unfortunately like I thought it was when like everybody was joining, it was going to be like this new group, yada yada yada, plus like the OGs who I had worked with when I was an editor at T and then at Vogue. People started leaving, and so I was like, oh, like what am I gonna do? And so I stayed, right? Like then the pandemic happened. And so like it was one of those scenarios where it's like I can either stick it out here and be super far away from my family. My parents at the time, only my mom we knew was sick, And so like I could have stayed in London. Like she only told me after I had accepted the job and moved to London that she was sick. So that's a whole other thing. Um, I knew I needed to come back. And I won't lie, Victoria was incredible. I don't share a lot personally about myself, so but with her, I needed to because she had taken a chance on me, right? It was tougher leaving VB during the pandemic, than leaving Vogue the second time, obviously, only because I knew I hadn't been able to do everything I wanted to do there. I knew we had
Yes.
gotten her from a business perspective closer to what like the revenue goals were. From a vision and comms perspective, we had laid a beautiful foundation. Beauty was like on the up and up. We had pivoted from YouTube to IGTV because we were just like, YouTube was not our audience. Like I will just say it. Like at the time, it's very different now. Um, I was enraged because like this pandemic happened, my family's sick, and at the same time, I still want to do this, but I was like, I- I know myself, I won't be able to fully be in it because I will constantly be thinking about what's happening back home.
Well, and that's an important lesson in a way is it's not just knowing when to leave the party, but and it's not giving up. It's just moving on.
Yeah,
And some people, me included, yeah, I want to finish the task, but sometimes it's not meant to be finished. And you've done, as long as you know you've done as much as you can, you just have to accept that. And sometimes that's hard for people, but you had left fulfilled in each job, and so I can see this being a different scenario
we
where
were
you,
just
yeah,
getting started.
right.
That's the part. We were just getting started. We were just like, we saw the success of like last year's Pride. We saw the success with like Beauty V1. We were like on the up and up. So the pandemic, while it provided me the perfect opportunity to be like, okay, I need to, like, to your point, it probably happened for a reason. Like I probably wasn't meant to continue staying there and I needed to leave. Lo and behold, like the lockdowns in London were way worse than New York, so I was kind of grateful to be back home and like with my family during that period too.
I mean, looking at your whole career, it's pretty spectacular. Like you just said, all the brands, when you name them, your resume is 3 stars. You know, it's you really have worked for the best of the best. And what a great, what am I going to say? But what a great career you've had, speckled with different people and different experiences versus just doing one thing all the time. It's really interesting to have learned all the different phases of Edward Barsamian. But I want to ask
And
you,
help build it, JD. Like again, you were instrumental again in the development of so much of what .com did from a celebrity perspective. Like think back to like all those crazy videos and stuff like that we used to do on like a shoestring budget. I saw this with what you did with Edward at British Vogue. You've been a champion of people's visions and making them achieve what they're looking for through what your like gifts are, which is fantastic.
oh, thank you. But I want to know, what do you think your superpower is? What makes you so great at all these different jobs that you've had?
I like to think that I, and I hope this is true, that I treat whomever I work with the same level of trust and respect that I was given by the people whom I still have the highest esteem and respect for. Like I was given that at a really young age. And so I could have been a monster. Like given everything I've done, I could have been an absolute diva terror, especially given like my penchant for like tiaras. That's not what we should be doing. Like we're here, just do it chicly, do it elegantly. That's it.
And any great advice that you've been given along the way that you would want to pass on to our listeners?
It's cliche, but keep calm and carry on. Again, I got a huge knock in my early 20s from the place I always wanted to work. I understand the mindset of being like, oh my God, life will never go on, blah, blah, blah. What am I going to do? It happens to everybody. everybody who you know, who you look up to, has been fired by one place, whether it's the place they dreamed of or not. It's happened to everybody. What you do after is what defines you.
Okay. So at the end of each episode, I like to ask my guests 7 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I hope so.
AM or PM?
AM.
Interesting. Uber or Subway?
I mean, Jill.
I don't even know why I asked.
I love everyone. I took the subway with my colleagues in London, the Victoria colleagues in London, even though I was like, I will pay for a car. It took just as long. Like, come on, I'm not gonna get stabbed. No.
Book or film?
Book.
Sweet or spicy?
Oh, sweet.
Spots or stripes?
Stripes.
Yep, I knew that. Top or bottom?
Always looking for a good top.
I absolutely loved having you on today. You've just had such an interesting career and so many good life lessons, career lessons for everyone out there. So thank you.